Have you ever imagined that the tomato, something we can't cook without today, was once feared across all of Europe as a deadly poisonous fruit nearly 500 years ago? Yes, it's true. Some people in Europe even died after eating tomatoes. So how did a fruit once believed to be so dangerous become one of the most essential foods in the entire world today? Well then, let's discover the fascinating story behind it in this video. Stay with us until the very end. This is Tale of the Taste. The story of the tomato begins around 500 BC in Mexico. The people there called it tomatl in the ancient Mayan language, which meant swollen fruit. And no, tomatoes back then didn't look like the big red ones we see today. They were actually small, yellow, cherry-shaped fruits. The Aztec civilization and Inca civilization people would roast these tomatl fruits over fire, then eat them with chili and salt. But wait a second. If tomatoes were poisonous, why didn't these people die? Well, because for them, tomatoes were never poisonous at all. So then why did people in Europe get sick after eating them? Hold on. Don't rush. We'll get to that part very soon. Around the year 1519, after the voyages of Christopher Columbus, a Spanish conqueror named Hernán Cortés destroyed the Aztec civilization empire and took control of Mexico. When the Spanish returned home, they carried stolen gold from Mexico, and along with it, they also took tomato plants back to Europe. And just like that, by around 1540, tomatoes had started spreading across Spain and even into Italy. So, when tomatoes finally arrived in Europe, people in France started calling them pommes d'amour. Pomme means apple, and d'amour means love. That's why tomatoes became known as the love apple. But the strange thing is, people didn't find love after eating them. They found death. Death? Yep, death. So what really happened? Well, back in those days, wealthy Europeans used to eat on plates made from pewter metal, and those plates contained lead. When acidic tomatoes were placed on those pewter plates, the acid reacted with the lead, causing poisonous lead to mix into the food. The people who ate it became seriously sick. Some even died, and others reportedly lost their minds. And because of that, people came to one terrifying conclusion. Tomatoes are poisonous. If you eat them, you'll die. As a result, from the 1500s all the way to the 1800s, tomatoes carried the label of being a deadly poison. For nearly 300 years, tomatoes were used mostly as decorative garden plants. Even churches called them the devil's fruit, mainly because tomatoes belonged to the deadly nightshade family. And in that same plant family, there was also a truly poisonous plant called belladonna. Now here's the crazy part. The people who actually proved tomatoes weren't poisonous were the poor. After the 1800s, Naples was one of the poorest cities in Europe. People were starving. Most of them survived on old bread, dry pasta, and a few strange fruits growing in their gardens, including tomatoes. At that point, one person finally took the risk, probably thinking, even if I die, it doesn't matter anymore. So they boiled the tomatoes, cleaned them, added some salt, and mixed them into pasta. Boom. Nobody died. In fact, it tasted amazing. And here's the real reason why. Poor people ate from wooden and clay plates, not expensive pewter plates with lead. So the tomatoes never became poisonous for them. And little by little, people finally started realizing the truth. A few years later, around 1820, the first tomato sauce recipe was officially written in a cookbook. Then, in 1889, the famous pizza margherita was created, with red tomatoes, white mozzarella, and green basil coming together to match the colors of the Italian flag. And if you watched our pizza episode on this channel, you probably already know a lot more about that story. Now, here's a question for you. Do you think a tomato is a vegetable or a fruit? According to botany, or plant science, a tomato is technically a fruit because it contains seeds. But in United States law, vegetables were taxed, while fruits were not. And because of that, this tomato debate actually turned into a legal battle. Then in 1893, the Supreme Court of the United States made its final decision. Basically, the court said, "We don't care about botany. People eat tomatoes with dinner, not as dessert. So legally, it's a vegetable." And just like that, from that day on, tomatoes officially became a vegetable by law. So next time someone asks you, "Is a tomato a fruit or a vegetable?" you can confidently say, "Scientifically, it's a fruit, but legally, it's a vegetable." After surviving all those strange stories, fears, and controversies, the tomato has now become one of the most important foods in the world. Today, more than 190 million metric tons of tomatoes are grown worldwide every single year. And after potatoes, tomatoes have become one of the most widely cultivated vegetables on Earth. Around 35% of the world's tomatoes are grown in China, while Italy remains one of the most famous tomato-producing countries in the world. And tomatoes aren't just tasty, they're actually packed with health benefits too. They contain a powerful antioxidant called lycopene, which is believed to help support heart health, reduce certain cancer risks, and even improve skin collagen. But at the same time, tomatoes are also highly acidic. So for people with gastric issues or ulcers, eating too much might not always be the best idea. Like everything else, tomatoes are best enjoyed in balance. A fruit that was feared and rejected as poison for nearly 300 years has now become the foundation of some of the world's most powerful food cultures. So who was the real hero of this story? The Spanish army? The kings and rulers? No, none of them. It was probably some unknown hungry person in Naples, someone who thought, even if I die, it's fine, and decided to taste the tomato anyway. So next time you pour tomato sauce onto your food, remember this: you're not just eating a simple ingredient. You're tasting a revolution that defeated fear, survived centuries of rejection, and was carried forward by hungry people. And with that, today's video comes to an end. We'll see you again with another delicious story very soon. Stay tuned to Tale of the Taste.